Our next speaker is one of the DiskAid guys. He's not a developer, though. He runs operations at DigiDNA, Victor Broido.
All right. You hear me? Excellent. I'm not very familiar with the whole setup, so sorry about that. Well, as it says here, it says Hippie Marketing 1.0, but that's like a bit exaggerated. It's actually a public beta. So, all right. If you know about us, well, I'm Victor. Like, you know, I'm one of the DiskAid guys. There's a link on my bio in the AltConf program if anyone's interested. At the DigiDNA, we've been writing, maintaining, and quite successfully selling software for 6 years now. And we've been growing from the typical indie setup, type of collaboration by 2 developers at the beginning, and to now a full crew of 8 people, and we're in Switzerland, Australia, and maybe soon in the US. Okay, so that's it for now for us. Now let's talk about your marketing plans. So in a nutshell, that's what I'm going to cover with you today. I'm trying to keep it as short as possible, but I'll be around if you want to talk about it right after. So what do I mean with hippie marketing? Why you should be happy marketing your soft product or whatever, and what is it going to change for you? I'm opposing this notion of hippie marketing to conventional marketing, but it's a kind of a joke. And keeping it funny, I narrow down to conventional marketing to ROI, like return on investment. That's what you usually focus on when you're marketing anything, and the equation that actually dictates your action is for every dollar spent, you want a bigger return. The problem with this, it's that it's extremely boring. And all the more because at this point, if you're an indie developer and you're starting, you want to promote your product, you probably don't have much money to invest in like regular channels of advertising, namely Google AdWords and other conventional stuff like buying banners and all what you hear in marketing manuals. So love is the essential component of a sound marketing strategy. And this is what manuals don't tell you. Hippie marketing, it's marketing that doesn't hurt your karma. It's marketing that focuses on what you give and not the return, what you can expect. So, because it's so much more about what you're going to give, the love that you're going to give to your customers, just like in any other business, you focus on your customer and the love that they deserve. While your potential customers look for products or services, or namely your software, to fill a need, like to respond to a need, it's actually the experience they will get from the usage of your product, the enjoyment that your product, your software will procure that will make them stay or better come back. And when we're talking about regular marketing and say the example of restaurant, it's very obvious. You go to a restaurant because you're hungry, and you go back at this same restaurant because you got something more than just food. And so you want to feel good. That's the experience you want to get. Everybody would like to be treated like a star. And a way a customer would feel that, like in a restaurant, it's pretty obvious. Again, smiles, kind attentions. I mean, this is the kind of feedback you get. For your software product, you can't do the same thing. it's not a single point of contact that you have, like at this very moment when the waiter hands you the check or whatever, and you can have this like this good feeling. And since it's all the time and everywhere, it's not for a specific moment in time. It's just like through the whole marketing. Well, I mean, like throughout the development and everywhere in your business and your software, you must add love wherever you can. And everything you say, you write, or do, it's got to show this love. And that's all the more because you don't know what, when, or where a link or anything about your product is going to be sent or transmitted. So at this time, when your change comes, it should be obvious that you care about your users and about what you have to give and not what you should expect in return. You get what you give. So this sums it. If you think about it for a minute, love is a very important thing in the Apple community. I wrote a short post a while ago about jailbreaking, and nothing too technical, as you know. I'm not a developer. And by the way, I hope you saw Zorik was here yesterday. That was cool. So I believe we hack because we love. Hacking is loving. We need to understand things we love. It's things we appreciate makes us curious. We want to know more. We want to know what's inside, how it works. Understanding things and people goes without loving them. Further, another example is Apple. Apple cares, not the thing they sell you when you walk out of the shop, but Apple does show a great amount of love across the board, I think, but especially when they're presenting their new products. And if you look at Johnny Ives, when he does that, it's pretty obvious that he loves his design. And if not, I really don't get the thing with the milling machine. He can talk for an hour. Another thing that's very present in the Apple environment is their emotional marketing, as the terms says. Apple speaks in very broadly in emotional terms. And maybe that might be conventional marketing disguised into something else that makes you think that Apple loves you. But I personally don't care. I value both the aesthetics and the message that the Apple products in their advertising display. So for me, they do it way better than any other tech company I know. So why should I do this? Why should I go hippie? Because obviously love and happiness are good for your customers, but also giving it away makes you feel good. And it's a rational choice to base your marketing strategy on, because anyway, if you look at traditional marketing literature, it's full of rules and examples that worked well in textbooks, in history, but they usually don't apply to your situation. Manuals tells you to think out of the box, and they'll give you example like from the past. They'll tell you this company made a huge success in reshaping the boxes in which they were shipping the CDs from their website, but that's totally irrelevant to you. It's probably useless, but can't do anything with that. So it could be really disheartening if you're trying to follow these rules as a path for your success and for marketing your product. And that could well be an excuse for staying in the shade. Iterating your code and thinking that your software is so cool and it's going to be like so good when you'll finish developing it in some time that the whole world will be willing to come and download it. But unfortunately, that never happens. But you don't need to worry. Anyway, marketing, even the conventional marketing, is just like, it's a process. It's an ongoing process. I'll talk about the goals that you can set for yourself. One thing about this hippie marketing, or like no rules, it's just you got to start right now. You got to start because there's no theory. What I'm explaining to you now it's not based on rigid principles or whatever. It's just plain vanilla. It's very easy. We're always told that we should like start building a community to get interaction, get interest, traction, traffic in the longer term around the product or the brand. And the problem is like to get this, it requires influence that in the beginning you obviously don't have. So that once again, it's a good example for not trying. So you should instead, if you have a software that's like in the works or anything, you should instead right now start taking part, active part of a community. You obviously can't build one yourself, but you can really take part to existing communities and giving back to these communities, being involved, exchanging. And that doesn't need anything. You don't need anything. You don't need fame. You don't need traffic. You don't need anything. And this will inspire you and also probably will help you avoid a lot of errors. Obviously, now more practically, you need to get started, go out and start talking about your product. And I just have a couple of points, but what I was saying before, like the best software, if it's like hidden in our repository, it's not going to be found. Over time in history, successful inventors have always been great communicators. Plenty of guys were working on the light bulb around 1879. Edison was the best communicator. He was the quickest to tell his story, and he's the one that we know about. So no matter how good your product or your soft is, what you need to do is let people know about it. So face it. I mean, you know that, so otherwise you wouldn't be sitting here. And again, doing this by like trying to build your community on your own, getting better ROI, return on investment, that's in every book. So what should you expect as a return on investment? You've put all your effort, sweat, and tears into this code. And that's probably everything you got now. And it's very likely that your most affluent resource at this time is only love. Well, not only. Don't get me wrong, it's huge. But you're still most probably not very cash rich. And you need to find some way to get there. So obviously, you need people to talk about your product. And you're going to get relays by influential people, good articles, stuff like that. You want to get a buzz. That's what you're after. And that's what you're told to get. But obviously, getting the buzz is mostly around fun. It's not easy to be funny on demand. Trust me. And especially when you're talking about software. So another way of being under the spotlight is to be lucky enough to have a product or a story that is close to what's in the news. For example, for us at DiskAid, it got really interesting when the stories about the NSA spying the cloud came out, as we offer a way to avoid the cloud for data transfer. It's just luck, but you can't predict that. So another very common thing for triggering discussions is what people talk about. They whether talk about things they hate or things they love. And I'm pretty sure you got the point. I thought you wanted to see something nice, a cat. Oh, you don't. Oh, that's too bad. It's a cat. It's a lol cat. It's really cool. I'll send you that picture. It's awesome. It's a cat with a mouse. Funny. Anyway, now getting back to more conventional wisdom, just like any other marketer would tell you to do, you have to know your stuff. So the best way to engage in a discussion is being enthusiastic about what you're doing. And bear in mind, and it's not a joke, passion is very communicative. Once again, think of Johnny Ive, how he talks about what he does. So you want to convince your user. To do that, you need to go way beyond the technical product description. You need to make clear what the experience and the benefit of your software will bring to its user. This is, by the way, pretty much what Apple does, like I mentioned before. This is the emotional marketing they bring. And even if you're not starting or planning to be a billion-dollar company, you really need to be able to convey much more emotion than just the raw facts about the features and specs of your brainchild. So you got to have a good story for your product. Everyone loves a good story. If you haven't heard about this book called The Fortune Cookie Principle, I'll have the reference in the end. Start reading it today. In a sense, and I quote, it's telling you that marketers spend most of the time selling the cookie when what they really should be selling is the fortune, i.e. what's inside, the experience. So that's about the story you have to put up with. Getting back to your product, you got to define clearly what it does. That's something every journalist will ask you. First thing, what it does, in what way it is different or new to what's existing, and why should he or everyone use it. And in other words, and I'm here overly simplifying on purpose, you need to find a very good use case. The one that you love the most, the one that's like affecting you, that's something that you really believe in. And this will convince. So you need to add love to your story and give it away unconditionally. And don't worry, journalists, or tech journalists especially, are very smart. They need a good story to begin, but if they need, they'll understand right away. You don't need to stuff it with explanation and whatsoever. If they need details, they'll ask you. Other very crucial points of focus on where to put your energy and your love is absolutely clear, is support. Be human, be nice, be understanding, be open. For your users, not knowing is okay. I mean, being lost in technology happens to everyone. And technology can sometimes be utterly frustrating. So you got to understand that and be in their shoes. Be human, show that you are human. Value your user. I mean, that's the best thing you should start doing, starting doing. Ask them questions. Don't assume you know. Remember, you're a hippie. You're an altruist. It's not about your knowledge of things and how you believe things should be done. It's about understanding what they expect. Remember, you want to start a community, but how do you start that? Like listening and exchanging. It's so basic, but it's true. And to give you a practical example, because they need to be listened, or at least you must show them that you're ready to listen, you can ask them to generate discussions about features they would like to see in your software and stuff like that. And even if you're not going to implement the feature because the feedback is probably going to be not what you expected, that's okay. Thank them for their input. You can then tell them that it's not going to happen for this or that reason, but you have to really give feedback on this. Share news in your industry. To your user. Don't assume that because they're your users and they're interested in your software or like using it, they know about your industry, about the industry your software is covering. That just will simply show them that you have a genuine interest for what you're doing and for the environment in which you're evolving. Talk about what you're doing, what you're working on, what the users should expect. This is essential because that establishes a communication that's going to be very helpful if there's a problem. They need to know that they can reach out to you, and if something goes wrong, they'll have a way to say something instead like of posting horrendous comments in the App Store. They'll reach out for you. Talk about other software titles or apps that you like. There's a fairly chance that your users will like them too. And that's pretty cool because, once again, it's another way to divert from the regular marketing relation to something like it's diverted to some other interest. And give more code. As I wrote, give your software, give it away. Raffle, sweepstakes, give it to blogs or websites that you're visiting. People like that. Users like that. If they subscribe, if they enter a raffle to win your software, they probably already know it. So they probably value what it is, and their experience is just going to be awesome. They're going to be your best ambassadors. And this is getting like mystical. Sorry about that. Love thy neighbor like thyself. And it's not a joke. Don't fear your competitors. Competition is good. The more competition is there, that means the subject is hot. There's like, it means it's a good thing to be there too. The more there's competition, the more money you can make. Don't fear the competition. Study it. Make a difference. Fear and ignorance are bad, and they lead to make bad decisions. So if you want to be good like Mike Lee has told you to be earlier this week, if you decide to be good, you'll be stronger. So go out and talk to them. Go talk to your competitors. You might fight in a way that you should team up with them. You never know. That's Darth Vader. Still not funny, huh? All right, let me get back to... All right, so what do you get from all that? It's a classic quantity versus quality bargain. The first thing, like I said, naturally is the good karma and kudos. But to be honest, if you compare that strategy outcome to the energy and spendings that you would put in like regular marketing and like active, like if you have more means and you're ready to spend money and you're going to be building a community, that might also lead to have lower numbers but a more genuine engagement. That means also you should rather focus and spend time with few people than trying to reach out for the masses. Don't aim too high. You're going to be overwhelmed, and you should definitely start with reasonable goals and try to achieve them first. Why you should believe in what I'm saying. Blaise Pascal, a French philosopher and scientist from the 17th century, he was pretty rational. And he laid the following wager. Oh, you don't see anything. What's going on? That's annoying. Okay, Blaise Pascal, it's Blaise Pascal Wagger. Anyway, I'm going to explain it to you in a nutshell. It's very interesting. He was trying to convince that it's better to believe in God than not, no matter what, because he's using the decision theory analysis. And the outcome is given by the matrix you don't see here. And the conclusion is that if God does not exist, you didn't lose anything trying to keeping believing it in your life. Because contrarily, if he doesn't exist, you didn't lose anything. If he does exist, whether you did not believe and you go to hell, or you did believe and then you go to paradise, which is an infinite gain, which is in decision theory, is shifting the balance through the strategy of belief. So if you apply this matrix to what I'm telling you right now, and you apply that, like, should I believe it's good to only give love and not to focus on returns, you'll end up with the same conclusion. And what about if you fail? If it's not true, if it's not working? Well, at least, and you'll have a good time. And you can fail and have a good time and feel good about it. That's the bulldog. It's a good example of a failure that feels right about it. And in tech, well, you recognize this guy. His counterexample is Bill Gates. He spent his life building an empire on principles that now he rejects. And he's now buying back the love with the money he made. So spare yourself. Begin with love and enjoy the returns after. So going back to what I've been explaining here, the original question is, what do we mean by hippie marketing? Add love to your communications, every channel. Listen and care about your users. Why should you be happy marketing your soft? Because your user will feel good and associate this feeling with your product. And what is it going to change for you? It's like you're going to feel good all the way, all along the path to hopefully success. My last slide is really nice too, but you can tell. And I just want to give a conclusive example of something. To tell you my best experience and example, the best experience and example I can give. It's this, what's happening right now. It's the sponsoring of AltConf. It feels good. It feels immensely good to be giving back to the Apple community. Well, the Apple developer community, our community. And helping out to sustain the alternative Apple Developer Conference is one of the best things we ever made. It makes us super happy, and hopefully you too. So that's it. Thank you very much for your time. Still don't see. For every dollar spent, you want a bigger return. The problem with this, it's that it's extremely boring. And all the more because at this point, if you're an indie developer and you're starting, you want to promote your product, you probably don't have much money to invest in like regular channels of advertising, namely Google AdWords and other conventional stuff like buying banners and what you hear in marketing manuals. So, love is the essential component of a sound marketing strategy. And this is what manuals don't tell you. Hippie marketing, it's marketing that doesn't hurt your karma. It's marketing that focuses on what you give. And sorry about that. Well, as it says here, it says Hippie Marketing 1.0, but that's like a bit exaggerated. It's actually a public beta. So, all right. If you know about us, well, I'm Victor. Like, you know, I'm one of the DiskAid guys. There's a link on my bio in the AltConf program if anyone's interested. At the DigiDNA, we've been writing, maintaining, and quite successfully selling software for 66 years now. And we've been growing from the typical indie setup, type of collaboration by 2 developers at the beginning, and to now a full crew of 8 people, and we're in Switzerland, Australia, and maybe soon in the US. Okay, so that's it for now for us. Now let's talk about your marketing plans. Not the return, what you can expect. So, because it's so much more about what you're going to give, the love that you're going to give to your customers, just like in any other business, you focus on your customer and the love that they deserve. While your potential customers look for products or services, or namely your software, to fill a need, like to respond to a need, it's actually the experience they will get from the usage of your product, the enjoyment that your product, your software will procure that will make them stay or better come back. And when we're talking about regular marketing and say the example of restaurant, it's very obvious. You go to a restaurant because you're hungry. So in a nutshell, that's what I'm going to cover with you today. I'm trying to keep it as short as possible, but I'll be around if you want to talk about it right after. So what do I mean with hippie marketing? Why you should be happy marketing your soft product or whatever, and what is it going to change for you? I'm opposing this notion of hippie marketing to conventional marketing, but it's a kind of a joke. And keeping it funny, I narrow down to conventional marketing to ROI, like return on investment. That's what you usually focus on when you're marketing anything, and the equation that actually dictates your action is.
Our next speaker is one of the DiskAid guys. He's not a developer, though. He runs operations at DigiDNA, Victor Broido.
All right, you hear me. Excellent. I'm not very familiar with the whole setup, so